Okay, maybe we'll just start with Paul and work our way down. Okay, so Paul, you heard all about what he's done, all the many times he's finished on bike and now twice on foot. Woo! And he learned that foot is hard. That's what I do. And then Laura, she's going to talk about her process or her journey from super competitive to now helping everyone and It's just the truth. She has started this women's bikepacking group, and it's exploded. She goes out on these giant rides. She'll tell about it, I'm sure, with a whole bunch of women. And then Marilyn is Doug, GPS map guy. Is that what he called you?
You got it.
Marilyn is Doug's wife, and she was able to receive a prosthetic leg that has changed her life, and she's going to talk about her journey through the challenge with that. And then Alyssa Rogers is going to tell us about her experience as well. So here we go.
I love the Trails Challenge. It's something that I probably, if I hadn't known Jason and who he was, I probably wouldn't have done it. And so I was inspired to kind of take this on. And I met Jason doing an ultra endurance race, the Smoke and Fire, and he kind of inspired me. He sat and talked to me for 5 or 10 minutes in the middle of this event, and he was way ahead of me. And over the years, when I signed up for the challenge, I thought, okay, the first year it was okay, that was fun, that was cool. And then the second year, I thought, I think I can do this twice. So every year I've kind of ratcheted up and done something different just to tweak it for myself. But one of the things I love about the challenge is it's a different challenge for everyone. And I've met so many cool people doing the challenge. I've been inspired by people, by their stories. It's one thing to just go and do it if you're in shape, and it's like, okay, no big deal. But it's another thing, like when I did it on foot, I realized it's way more difficult on foot. It is significantly harder. And I gotta admit, that was tough. And I started that last year. I did it on foot and on bike, and I thought, what did I just sign myself up for? I have to do it now, because I said I'm gonna do it. And oh my goodness, it was tough. But I love this challenge. I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. This year, I finished my 10th time. And yeah, I got a problem. One last thing, somebody asked me, they said, yeah, somebody was asking me, are you married? And I am married, and thanks to my beautiful wife, she's allowed me to do this.
I forgot to mention, this QR code is for you to submit questions for Q&A once they've finished talking.
Okay, I'm Laura Heiner, and I never used to bike 5 years ago. And I watched Paul and my husband and Jason do the Smoke and Fire. And my husband rolled into the finish, and Jason was standing there, and I said, I'm gonna do this next year. And Jason went, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you are. And I did. And part of my training for that was participating in the Boise Trails Challenge. And it was the first year, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I hadn't hardly ridden any single track, and I didn't know what I was doing at all on a bike. And I found myself in like 4th or 5th place. And so, like Kirk said, I was ready to kill everyone in my path to win. I did not win, but I learned some really valuable lessons, which is you should be nice, you should have fun, you don't deserve to win if you're not going to be nice. All of those beautiful lessons that I think Jason was kind of teaching me. And so I changed my attitude from then on out, and I've done it lots of different ways over the years. And my real passion is bike packing. And I started a women's bike packing group, and we go out once a month and we ride and sleep and ride, and it's a lot of fun. And I had no idea this is the person I would be, but I guess it's who I am now, so.
And you're amazing. I'm honored to be up here. I feel very inadequate, but so yeah, I was kind of like a little fly on the wall from the beginning, and I I got to hear Jason and Doug talk about the trails that Jason wanted on there, and they would meet in our kitchen, and I got to hear all of that, and so that was pretty cool. And then when he passed away, it was kind of this therapeutic healing way for my husband to grieve, I guess, and kind of give something back to Jason, like he said. So the first year, I think I did one hike. I'm not a mountain biker, so I thought, well, this is like a mountain biker challenge, you know, like, so we went on one hike, and I was like, that's cool. And then we found out people on foot actually finished. There was like one person the first year finished on foot, and I was like, hey, was it Colton? Was it Colton? Oh, who was it? I feel like they need a shout out.
Noah?
Go you, if you're here. Okay, if you're here, you're amazing. And I was blown away, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe people can finish this if they're like superhuman. Anyway, so the second year I did a few as well, and then I decided I should really make a goal for myself. So the third year I decided, okay, what would Jason do? And I decided my goal is going to be to do all of the climbs, because he loved to climb. You've heard tonight, he likes doing hard things, and so I thought, well, that will be a hard thing for me. And so we did that, and then to make it even harder, it was the third week we had done that, and my goal was done, and I was doing a lot of it with Dana, and we actually looked at our leaderboard, and we were 60% of the way done, and I had this thought in my head, and I think it was Jason, that said, you can finish this. And I was like, okay, no. And then that night, my husband came in, he's like, are you gonna finish this thing? And I was like, no. And then Dana said that her sister-in-law, Alyssa, she was finishing it. She had a goal to finish it on foot, and she was doing it by herself, which was amazing. She said, Dana, you should finish this. So Jason was getting the point to us big time, and we decided in 1 week, we sat down in her kitchen and we planned out the rest of the way, and we somehow finished. But like Dana said, I have a prosthetic leg. I have just physical difficulties that I have to work through. But I was given this amazing opportunity. This amazing organization, Amputee Blade Runners, gave me this free leg, and it's just opened up so many possibilities for me. Sorry. And before I got it, when I was applying for it, Jason was super supportive, and he posted it on his Boise Trails account, and we had a whole 5K, and he was there, and so I know that he was kind of backing it up and making it happen for me. And it was just a really cool thing to be able to be out on the trails, and I got to witness several miracles, because 8th Street Moto at the top of it. And if anyone's ever been there, you know there's no easy way down. And I was like, Dana, I'm not gonna make it down. I can't walk anymore. I had sores all over my leg, heat rash. I could barely walk, and I thought, I don't know how I'm gonna make it down. And she was like panicking, and later I found out, she's like, I started talking to Jason, like, Jason, help us out, how are we gonna get down this hill? And I'll just tell you, a miracle happened on the foothills that night. It did involve toilet paper, not in the way you're thinking, but it saved our lives. We made it down. I don't know how, but everybody has challenges, not just me. But I think in the video, it talks about how it's not just a physical challenge, but it's mental, emotional, and everything like that. And Jason was always like, hey, it's gonna be hard, let's do it. And I would just always tell myself that as I'm limping to the end of a trail, it's gonna be hard, let's do it. I'm just grateful for the opportunity and the people and the community, and just the opportunity to have a goal and to go for it. And I think everybody here can relate to that, so that's my story.
Kirk and everyone else who made this possible. I guess the reason why I run long distances on trails is so I don't have to talk to anyone. So this is not easy for me, but I really wanted to be here because of Jason. I feel like I not only know Jason, but like he's my good friend. And I feel like that when I'm out on the trails and I pass by a stranger or I pass by a friend, I feel like we have something so much in common that we already know each other without having to say anything. And we can just make like a half a second eye contact, and like there's so much exchanged right then and there. So I think I passed by Paul last year when he was finished, and he was finished with a Boise Trails Challenge on his bike, and then he was doing it on foot, and I was like bombing it down the mountain on my mountain bike, so it was just like this paradoxical like like he was doing it on foot then, and I was on my mountain bike, and but then I was like so humbled that he was doing it again on foot. So there's always more. Like you accomplish something so great, you feel empowered, and then there's something more. And it's just, I think that's what all of us feel is from each other. Is it's just so inspiring to hear each other's stories. They're all so different, and so awesome. And then, is it Lauren or Laura? Laura, I've heard about you. No, it's not a sorry. I totally want to do what you have done. No, I mean it. So I've heard about you, and I'm gonna find you. And then Marilyn, I can picture this, stumbling, limping to the finish line, and that's what this is about. Is it's not sexy. It like sweaty, salty, dusty, hungry. Like Jason would have loved it, So I started out the Boise Trails Challenge the year before last. I did it the very easiest way possible, and I took all 30 days. And I think I started on the first day, and I ended within a couple hours of the finish line. And I biked maybe 65% of it, the easy parts that were easy to bike, and then I walked or hiked the parts that were really hard to bike. So I kind of hijacked it, and then the next year I was looking at the times, and I really like to run and hike, and I wanted to explore more of the trails, and so I looked at it and was like, I'm not gonna tell anyone, but I'm gonna win. Like I want to win, and so by the way, like, doing it with the fastest amount of time, like that's just one of the like thousands of different challenges that you could do with the Boise Trails Challenge. So it's just something that I wanted to do, and I like to do hard things. And so I told a few people, and I told my closest friends that I trusted, and they totally supported me. And I think we can all agree that we can't do hard things by ourselves. And Jason started this, he planted a seed, and he planted a seed with enough nourishment for it to grow. And the people that loved him dearly made it sprout up and blossom and make it to what it is today. And we are surrounded by impermanence. Like, that's the one constant, right? Like, we're surrounded by change and impermanence. And what's so amazing about something like this that Jason started is the regeneration of passion that has been created, this regeneration, and growth of a passion that started something really, really awesome. And it continues on, and it will continue on. The impact is not impermanent, it's infinite. It's gonna grow forever in people's lives from this generation on, and I'm so grateful. I feel a tremendous amount of joy to see everyone be a part of this and to learn about it and go through their own challenges through it and see their family members or their friends go through it. And I know Jason is doing the same, so thank you so much for being here.
I'm not so good at talking in front of people, so hopefully I can keep my train of thoughts that I've been going over in my head as I'm sitting here. And so I'm Nicole. This is my husband, Braydon. We were lucky enough to have a part in this event. We were asked to make the film. Unfortunately, I never got to meet Jason. Braydon did briefly. But the things that I just wanted to mention was, so when they asked us to be a part of this film and tell the story of Jason and the Boise Trails Challenge, when you go into telling a story, like at least how I approached it is we kind of dove in and you talked to a bunch of people, we did some interviews, we gathered a bunch of footage from Dana, and I watched everything. And little back detail, I guess. Braydon was the one, he can tell you, he was out doing like the interviews and all the filming. I did the editing. So I was looking through the archival footage and pulling that out and then doing a lot of the editing on that end. So as I was looking through this footage, I just felt like you couldn't help. So I had listened to some of the interviews, and everyone loves Jason. Like, I kept hearing like how amazing he was, and just a good guy. And everything I saw couldn't have echoed that more. I feel like as I was watching all those clips that he was taking by himself, like out in the mountains, or with his friends, or there was a few sprinkled in there where he's with his family. Like, he was just. There was nothing bad that ever came across in anything he said or did. And I know he probably wasn't perfect, but he seemed pretty close to me, pretty perfect as I was watching all these clips. And it made me, I told Braydon a few times, like, I'm so sad that he's not here. Like, I felt like as I was watching it, like, you can't help but just love the guy and feel like he's really, like a connection as I watched it, just feeling like it's so unfortunate that somebody so charismatic and loving and full of life and hardworking, wasn't here with us anymore. And so as I was feeling that way though, on the flip side, it was a lot of pressure. Like, I want to help do this story justice and just diving in and trying to pull out, those little bits of video that kind of showed his personality a little bit. And there were so many more that we didn't use, but he was just an amazing person from what I've seen, and such a good example. There's multiple things that he did and how he lived that I noticed, and one of them that I wanted to mention was, I feel like anything he was doing, he was all in. When he was out on the trails, like, he was not in a rush to get back. He was very much focused on where he was at and enjoying and like taking it all in. He stopped as often as he could to take photos and videos of whether it was his friends or like these pretty flowers or a view. Like, he was capturing it all and he was in the moment. And I just love that because I need that, more in in my life, and I thought he's such a good example of that, and also kind of echoing what was said, a good example of embracing and like finding joy in difficult things, and he's just so positive and amazing that way. Yeah, I'm gonna pass it to Braydon now for his thoughts.
All right, yeah, my name's Braydon, Nicole's husband, and back in 2020, when me and Kirk were going out riding, he mentioned, hey, I have you know, this thing that I'm trying to kind of put together. And he mentioned how he was talking with another production company on sharing this story of Jason. And he said, would you be interested? And I knew right then and there, having been on a ride with Jason and just feeling, you know, the type of person that he was, that I was incredibly honored to try my best, try our best. I signed Nicole up before she knew, to tell this story. And I knew that you can't take something like that lightly. And I didn't necessarily want it to be focused on all of the, you know, details and graphics and maps of the challenge. I wanted it to be focused on kind of the spirit of the challenge. And it's just amazing to see how this came together. There was moments where, with COVID and not being able to get groups together, we were like, should we push it out last year? Or at the end of 2020, and we decided, like, it's just not right to rush this. Let's just wait. Let's wait till that final party in 2021. And even after that, we still had to, you know, work pretty hard to get the rest of the stuff. But it's just amazing to me that this really did just come together. And it was a lot of work, but everybody we interviewed, Nicole editing, the music, the shots that Jason provided for us to use, like the ending where he's setting his camera up, riding out of frame and riding back across.
I loved it.
Yeah, those are just so perfect to put those in there, you know, that Jason actually filmed some of this movie. So, yeah, just totally honored and very grateful that it turned out. So thanks for coming out and enjoying this night.
Do we have any questions? Okay. There's some questions submitted through the barcode thing. How many people worked on creating the challenge? Who are they? So, like we said a little bit in the video, Jason had the idea. Nick Smith and his brother were doing the paper map, and we did that the year before. I didn't finish it that year. You think the routes on the challenge are annoying? Try the paper map. You have to do those dumb trails in the Dry Creek, not Dry Creek itself, but those ones that go between Dry Creek and Bogus. Everything in Harrison Hollow, aka the dog park. I mean, so anyway, we modified it a little. We kept a lot of those, but anyway, I'm digressing. Jason, myself, Dustin, who is an amazing developer who built the website and didn't get enough mention here. Doug. Keeley from Trail 27 has been totally instrumental. She was kind of a sponsor, but now she's just basically part of the team and is amazing, and we couldn't do it without her. And we have the party at her house. It's always amazing. Who am I forgetting? Dana, obviously. And then Colton joined the team. Colton is the greatest, at helping you with your issues that anyone ever. It's been so great to have him on the team. So if you've noticed like nicer and more helpful emails lately, it's because of Cole. So I think those are the main people. I hope I didn't forget someone. Okay, and me. Yep. Yeah. Okay, what else?
What is your favorite segment of the BTC, and what's the most challenging?
Honestly, I don't have a favorite because at any given time, each one has been my least favorite. So yeah, I love all of it. Even I complain on my Strava titles or descriptions about things like that ridge named Kemper, things like that. But really, honestly, I love it. I love the solitude, but I also love meeting people. So.
I really love Red-tailed a landslide. That's like one of my favorites. And I've loved and hated all of them. And I really struggle with anything that's technical because, like I said, I just started biking. So like Mahalo is kind of a nightmare for me. And I've never driven into Mahalo. So I ride into Mahalo and then I ride back up to ATM and I call that Mahalo Mahalo. So.
I love that I know the trails really well now, and I know what trails to take my kids on, which ones not to. So I just love that it's given me this opportunity to know the trails really well, and I think my favorite is Dry Creek and Around the Mountain. I love them, but I'm not on a bike, so maybe that's the difference. And as you heard before, I loathe 8th Street Moto. Hate it.
And I missed the question. What was the question? The favorite trail?
What?
The favorite trail?
There was a specific question for you, which was what was your hardest?
Well, which I ran up instead of biked. So that year. Last year, so probably my favorite trail, it's funny, is Mahalo because it is kind of like tucked out there, and I love Hawaii, and I like to imagine I'm in Hawaii while I'm running Mahalo. I got to run it, when was it, yesterday with some friends. The hardest, and then I also really love hard guys, so we need a hard lady trail too. Probably, I'm trying to think of what the hardest one was. I don't know specifically, but I think the hardest one just because I was struggling physically on Cartwright Ridge, and it was like 102 degrees, and I couldn't run anymore. My knee was hurting, and that was probably the hardest to get through. My good friend Jan dropped me off. I think she kind of felt like she was dropping me off at like the Mojave Desert, and like wasn't gonna see me for maybe never, and felt really bad for me. But she's like, "You got to do this," and so what a great friend, right? Sent me on my way, and it took a long time. It was very hard, and I got through it. So.
You guys haven't done the challenge. My least favorite, is it favorite or least favorite? I'm so negative. My least favorite is Cartwright Ridge. I just can't, it's almost amazing how there can be a trail that's 7 miles long with no fun parts. It's almost like by accident there should be at least one fun part. My favorite is Dry Creek. I love the trees, and you don't have to go all the way to Bogus to get them on Dry Creek, and it's action-packed. So yeah. Shindig's awesome. It's inconvenient because it makes you go up one more time at Bogus, unless you're smarter than me. All right. Oh yeah, Caitlin? Is Caitlin Cook here? Yep. Am I? Because there's a question about, yeah, come on up. there's a question about the overall winner, and Caitlin is the overall winner this year, and she's 15 years old. And the question is, this part is the amazing part about sleep. I never do the sleep deprivation thing. How much sleep did you get during it?
I slept for we went home, I slept for about 3 hours total.
And you rode for like over 3 days?
Hours. Yeah, well, I did sleep like a little bit in the car, but most of the drives are really short, so it was just a bit.
And what was that like? Like, how were you feeling out there?
Tired the whole time. Last year I did fall asleep while I was riding, but this year I didn't.
Good job. Okay, this is for Braydon. I saw some drone shots in the film. What drone do you guys use?
Just a DJI Mavic Air 2.
Sweet. Do you fly it too, Nicole?
Yeah, sometimes.
All right. This is for everyone who's done it. Do you like doing the trails solo or with friends?
So I've done it enough. I actually enjoy doing it by myself. It's fun to ride with friends, but I like doing it by myself because I enjoy going at my pace. I enjoy the introspection. I do a lot of thinking. I've spent far too much time on the trails, but I really enjoy that aspect of it. So I enjoy doing it alone.
I also like doing it alone, usually because I'm a hot mess and I don't want anyone to see me. So that's kind of my favorite part. And I'm smelly and I'm really, really filthy. So yeah, my preference is to, the favorite years that I've ever done it, I've taken off work and tried to slam it out in less than a week by myself and spend that time totally solo, and it can be really meditative and like, you get to spend a lot of time out there with yourself and you have just a lot of time to think, and you get tired, you get happy, you get sad, you get all of those things. And then to turn around when you're done and start helping your friends chip away at their segments, those have been my favorite years. So both, I guess.
As a hiker, it takes a lot longer, so you're on the trails for a long time. So I really love spending time with people, just talking, and I don't know, it's kind of just this really special time with people. So I like to go with as many different people as I can, and that I didn't have a goal this year. I didn't have a lot of time. I was traveling a lot, and so every time I went, I just really got to choose my favorite trails and just really enjoy the people that I was with. So that's what I love about it.
I think in general, being out on the trails, my answer is the same, it's both. I really love to share it with my friends and my family and my kids, even though they might not have smiles on their faces. They did it the first year with me, probably not knowing they were doing it with me. I just kind of pulled them along for a few miles at a time, but I also love the alone time, the solitude. At night with a headlamp, it's just so peaceful, and it is a lot of time to think and solve the world's problems in your own world or other things going on. There's some hard truths that come out. Some really hard truths about where you want to be, but also finding this like contentment about where you are at that moment. And it's a really cool space to be in by yourself. So I think I'm hearing the same message from everyone, which is really cool.
Okay, we had someone ask us to share some more info about the plaque, and it's on the Spring Creek Trail in Avamore. It was done by a Boy Scout that Jason worked with for many years, and he loved Jason so much that he really wanted to involve him in his final Eagle Scout project. And that plaque is the result of Jason's relationship with him, and it's just such a huge honor, and it, just describes Jason without having to say anything. And the request was also there to include some future challenges involving the plaque, so we will have to do that next year. This question is for Lara. People want more info on the Idaho Women's Bikepacking Group, and a follow-up question: who's faster, you or Cody?
I'll answer the last one first. It's no question that Cody's faster and better and smarter and a better mechanic and all of those things than I am. Yay! And by default, he has been rigged into helping me run this women's biking group, right? Because I'm kind of the face of it. Paul helps me with it too. But I really was like, if people ask me about mechanicals or like gear, I'm like, oh, I don't know, get the red one. I don't really know. So I get a lot of help from him with that. And as years go by, I get better at it. But I started a group because I knew Jason as a bike packer. He did the challenge, and I love the challenge, and I see him as that too. But I knew him as this really crazy bike packer who would go out 12 months a year. It didn't matter if it was winter, and he would bike. And they actually set a goal one year to make sure they had done an overnighter every single month. And I think they've even been like to Loftus when it was 13 degrees before and stuff. So crazy stuff he would do. And that's kind of the Jason that I knew. And so bike packing became my passion because biking trails and biking around, and doing the Trails Challenge comes really close to what it feels like to do a big bike packing event. If you do it fast, it's so big, it's so hard, it requires so much endurance that it feels the same. But my passion is teaching women that they can do this really crazy sport, which is you load your bike with a bunch of gear. So it sounds exactly like what it is. It's like backpacking and biking combined. You load your bike with gear, you bike out however many miles you want to, you sleep where you want to, and then you get back on your bike the next day, and you can go home, or you can do it again another night, and just keep it going. So it's called Idaho Women's Bikepacking, and it's for women, but also, if you're married to someone who is in the group, you can come on the rides. If you're a partner of someone in the group, you can come on the rides. And we go out once a month, and I just teach women how to bike pack, but I also teach them how to race. Because I'm a big believer. When I said that I was going to do that race, when I decided to do it, I was just a mom at home with 4 kids and no bike. It wasn't like I was a biker and said I'm going to do it. I had never mountain biked. I had never gravel biked. And I was just like, and I had road bike, but it had been probably 12 or 15 years since I had done that. And I did it in Iowa where there are not mountains. It's not even similar to Idaho. And so when I said I was going to do that, I got a bike in like March and started training and raced that race in September. So the passion that I found from that is it literally changed my life. I think of myself completely differently now. Like the things that I can do and the things that I'm not scared of, because sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're totally alone and it's the middle of the night and you're like, what am I doing? I'm so awesome. And it really, this is crazy, and this is also like so cool. So I wanted to give women that passion. I wanted to teach them, like, you don't have to know how to ride a bike. You don't have to have a good bike. You don't even have to have a bike. And we have had women do the same thing, get a bike in March and race the Smoke and Fire in September to success. So I love it. But I would also love to teach women, if you're like, I just want to do 10 miles. Can we just ride to the edge of Boise and then like have some dinner and then ride back? I'm interested in that as well. So and I'm just also interested in getting women on bikes. So if you're like, I just want to ride the trails behind Camel's Back, let's do that. Let's get you a bike and let's get you going. That's my passion. I think it will literally change your life. You can be super cool on a bike.
We had multiple questions about where the film is going, if it'll be available to purchase. Kirk wants to talk about it.
Yes, we will put it on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch it there. We just thought it'd be amazing to do this here, but you can watch it again later. I thought it was pretty amazing to see it on the big screen. Definitely did justice to all the hard work that these two put in. So we will make it out, put it out there on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch it again if you want. There's a question I love the ones that are more like accusations than questions. One of them is just, what's up with Ricochet? Yeah. Some people hate that trail. It's someone got hurt pretty bad on it last year, and they asked us to take it off. And I'm a lawyer, so I was like, maybe we should. But then I was like, nah, Jason wouldn't. I was like, if it's too hard, then walk it. But what was the other one? There was one. What was it? Oh, can you put Cobb on? So we had Lucky Peak and Cobb on there originally, and Lucky Peak was like the pinnacle of suckiness. But we were asked by Fish and Game to take it off because that's the wildlife preservation area, and we want to be good partners. We're lucky that we can even do this, and so we can't have those on there. So it's a shame because there's a lot of growth over there on that side of town, and we kind of force people over to the other side of town to ride when they're doing the challenge, but that's the way it is. Paul, there was one, when are you going to do it on a unicycle? was one of the questions, and are you really married, which you already addressed. What else? Have you ever gotten lost? I hope it was before we did the app.
During the challenge, no. But I'm also not afraid to ask for directions. Maybe that's atypical. No, never been lost.
Was this for all of us?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's for everyone. I have been lost, but not. I'm on a bikepacking trip and doing overnighter, and this kind of applies because I did in 2020. I did it in a single ride. One time I was on the Smoke and Fire, and I was riding, and I woke up, and I had no idea which way I was supposed to go because I thought I was supposed to go uphill, but my bike was downhill, and I totally was. It took me a while. There's another story that I won't tell. But anyway, so it's easy to get lost. It's a valid question when you're sleep deprived, but no, not 100%.
No, I've not been lost on the Boise Trails Challenge because there's such a good interactive map that you can use to locate yourself at any time. But I did do the challenge completely wrong the first time I did it. Like I just looked at the map, I didn't know any of the trails, and I thought, Femrites will be a quick little out and back. And so I learned my lessons that way, so I'm a big fan of just jumping in and doing it, even if you don't know what you're doing.
I know, I was gonna say, I luckily know the map guy, and he's like, there's a button that you push, and it says, and it will locate, it will show you where you are on the map. And so that first year, it was like, okay, walk this way a little bit. Oh no, that's the wrong way. Oh, okay, that's the right way. So I never got lost, but now I feel like I didn't even have to use it. I'm like such a pro now. I feel so proud of myself.
Same. Never really been lost too much, but I have taken some wrong turns, and then the getting lost, it helps me get to know the trails better. So it hasn't ever been anything scary, and it's just been a learning lesson. So.
Real quick, favorite trail snack? There were a couple of these questions.
Black Forest ham fruit snacks that are filled.
I take a sandwich baggie and I go like cashews, gummy bears, bacon, prunes, dried strawberries. I throw everything in whatever I have in my cupboard in one bag, and then that's my favorite.
I like those honey stinger waffle things. Those are good.
Potatoes. That's an appropriate. I bake potatoes and I put lots and lots of salt on them, and they eat those. And then after the day, like I had an amazing PBR, and that was pretty delicious too. So.
Okay, this one is for Nicole and Braydon. How many hours went into making the film?
before I pass it, you said Black Forest ham.
I said that Black Forest.
Okay. I thought there was like ham-flavored fruit snacks. It's got ham and potatoes. It's like Thanksgiving dinner on the trail. Okay. All right.
I have absolutely no idea. It was a lot, and I'm trying to estimate for you. What do you think?
The answer is we have no idea. So there was full days of filming that didn't even make the film, multiple trips, multiple cuts. It was very extensive. When I signed up for it, it really wasn't about how much time it was going to take. It was just doing it right, and so yeah, that's the answer.
Calculable. Okay. If you have to leave, I know we're going kind of long. Don't feel bad. We won't be sad. We'll do a few more, right? If you were talking to someone who has never heard of the Boise Trails Challenge, what is the most important thing they should know about it?
It's a way for you to go out and challenge yourself, to figure out kind of who you are and figure out that you can do hard things.
Anyone can do it, and you can do it any way you want.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Both of those, so I'll just say amen.
It's a way to get out of your kind of like routine, because I know a lot of us, well, these are people that maybe go out on the trails but just kind of do their same thing every time. It really gets you out of your comfort zone. But if someone had never done it before, been on the trails, yeah, it's very approachable. I think everyone's done a good job in creating the website and the software, and that the trails are really very easy. Everything's pretty easy to use. So getting to know the trail system, then when you go out and you want to go for a run or a bike, you have this bank of trails to choose from in your mind, and it's so awesome.
Okay. Do any of you have any trail angel moments?
Okay, so like I mentioned, I'm not a good mechanic, and I got a flat. So it wouldn't seal, so I had to add in a tube. So I took my tire off and I propped it up against Femrites. Femrites is cursed. I missed that section this year also and had to go back and catch it. I propped it up against the trail post, and I was messing with, my pump and my tube and all that, and my back tire tipped and my cassette came off. And like my hub went ding, it like confetti into the gravel. And I had no idea how to put it back together. So I was picking up like springs and gears and locking parts, and I didn't know what to do. And Mark Schaefer came pedaling along. And Doug Lamont was there too. Those two came along and they helped me piece it back together and put my bike back together, and I just like pedaled off and I was like, yes! And then my tube went flat. Like on Femrites, I was still on Femrites. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So I just started walking out because I didn't have another tube and it wouldn't seal and all that stuff. And April Black came hauling down and she goes, what are you doing? You're not walking out of here. And in like 5 seconds, she put a tube in for me, and I was like back on my feet and ready to go. It was awesome. I think those are the only, probably had lots of little things, but that's a really big one.
I have a quick trail angel story. It's not the trail angel you think of, but it makes me think of this moment. It's a little, maybe a little hard to share, but in 2020 when I did it for the first time as a single ride, I did it really in kind of honor of Jason, as I thought that for me was the best way to kind of share that moment and to honor him, and I did that. And I tried to do it the previous year, but I was just really exhausted still from doing the Arizona Trail Race, so I couldn't. So I did it, and at the very end of that ride, I I'm finishing on 15th Street connector, and I see Campbell. And I say, hey, I know you. And I said, can I take your picture? He's like, well, we have to ask my mom. And there Dana was, and that to me was really kind of a special moment. And not really a trail angel as you think of what a trail angel is, but it was really a kind of a neat moment because they were just there starting the ride. And for me, it was kind of one of the memorable moments of the Trail Challenge, and something that really kind of made that and cemented that challenge for me and that year, and was something I'll probably never forget.
That was super cool because I was going out on my very first trail and he was finishing. So I'm gonna give some more details on the toilet paper story that Marilyn talked about. This was COVID year, and you had to buy whatever toilet paper you could find. And I never buy the nice cushy Charmin, but that's what I had at home. And I was getting ready to leave, and we kind of have this thing that we brag about, Marilyn and I, that we've never had to pee while on the trail. We've never had to use the bathroom. And as I was leaving, I just thought, I'm gonna get some toilet paper. It was gonna be like a 12-mile hike. I don't know why. I mean, I do know now why, but I grabbed some of this very nice Charmin toilet paper. And as we were walking down Femrites after climbing 8th Street Moto, and she was in so much pain, I just kept hearing in my head, toilet paper, toilet paper, toilet paper. And it was just the strangest experience because who has a special experience involving toilet paper? But I was like, okay, Marilyn, this won't leave my head, so what if we used this toilet paper? And my idea was to like cushion the bottom of her leg with it, but she said that won't help. And somehow she, so we kept going. And I was like, it will not leave. What do we do with this toilet paper? It's the answer. And she's like, well, actually, I learned recently that if you put more around the width of your leg, it takes the pressure off of the bottom. And so we got to a stopping point, and we wrapped it around her leg, and she stood up and was like, I can walk. It was truly miraculous, and it came from Jason. So he was our trail angel that day. Okay, this is the last question we're gonna ask. How does the challenge of the BTC translate to overwhelming and difficult things in life?
So I looked at this, and the challenge is one of those things that it's based on a series of smaller things. And if you look at the challenge and you say, 177 miles, that's crazy. And you're not even really thinking, because it's not 177 miles, it's more like 220. I did 220 on foot, and that was maximizing it. But it's more like 250 miles. But if you think about that, and the same with life, if you try to tackle this entire thing at once, you're probably going to set yourself up for failure. But if you do this challenge, you do it a little bit at a time, and you recognize and you see the trail turn green. It's the same as life. You do life one step at a time. You take something that's really, really hard, and if you do it one step at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, you can do it. And so if you think about the enormity of some impossible task, it's going to be impossible. But if you take it in bite-sized things, and that's the way I look at when I approach the challenge. I don't look at, oh my goodness, I have this much left. I plan it, I take something, and I accomplish it, and then I look at that. And I think that's the same with life. If you let something be overwhelming, it will be. But if you tell yourself you can do it, and then you can prove it, then it won't be as hard.
So it might seem silly to talk about a trails challenge because it's like, what's the big deal about this little thing that happens in Boise once a year? But this is by far the hardest challenge that I do every year, including the self-supported bikepacking race I do. I think that when you tell people you do it or you've done it really fast or you do huge segments at once, people are always really impressed with the physicality of that. But what it really is about is your mental and emotional health, and that's usually the first thing that breaks down. And so you have to have lots of conversations with yourself. You have to find things that make you happy out there. You have to turn really difficult moments into meditative moments. And that was the thing I did not learn the first year, that I kind of fixed and changed in the consecutive years after that. And so it really alters what you think you're able to do, and then the way that you cope with those difficult moments. So it sounds really cliche, but I can do hard things. You figure out that you actually can do that, and you get mentally and emotionally stronger. And then when you run into a friend and you're like overjoyed, and they're like, geez, it's because maybe you were out there like battling yourself for, so long. So that's kind of the lesson I've learned. And it sounds silly, but it's way harder than it is. Like Jason knew what he was doing. This was a crazy idea, and it was an awesome idea.
Very well said, both of you. I was just thinking along the same lines. It's just you and your goal. You doing this for whatever reason you're doing it. And it's you kind of have to get to that breaking down point in order to heal. And I know a lot of people were healed on the trails because of how much you have to push yourself. And you learn so much about what you can do and what you're capable of doing. And at the end, realizing you have such a huge support, not even this community, but we all had support at home or with people helping us on the trail or things like that, that we really can't do anything alone, right? We have to rely on other people, but it really ultimately does come down to the grit and the strength within ourselves. And we really do have so much that we can do. And I'm just so grateful to have, like you said, it does seem kind of silly, but this is one of those moments where you can really get to that point and find your true, your true awesomeness. I should be like on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah, similar thread in that people ask me a lot of times, like, what are you training for now? And oftentimes, even if I am training for a race or a challenge, it is like, I'm training for life. I'm training to deal with life. And like this Trails Challenge is a deliberate, like you're choosing to do it. But it does help with things, challenges in lifetime that maybe aren't your choice or out of your control, and stopping, taking a breath, and like, yes, I can do hard things. I've done hard things before, and this is how I did it, and I'm gonna do it again. And on the trails, I often, you have so much time to think. It's 170 something miles, right? But you're doing so many more miles than that, actually. Not to discourage you, but it's like, I love that part of it. It's a strategy, right? It's like, it's a puzzle. But some of the times, like when we're out there and possibly you're out on the trail and you're in the dark and you have a headlamp on, all you can see is like, a couple feet, 5 feet in front of you, and that's all you can see, and you're just taking one step at a time. And you've entered this big challenge, or there's gonna be mountains ahead of you, but you can't see them, right? You don't know. And sometimes those mountains are easier because you can't see. You can't see them, so you're like, oh my gosh, now I can see, at sunrise, and I just did this awesome thing. And I did it one step at a time. And then there's other times where like you can definitely see the mountain in front of you or the hill down below you or the technical trail, and you're like, how am I gonna do this? And again, it's one step at a time. And such a life lesson. Like there's, the Boise Trails Challenge is like a skeleton, like a scaffolding for your own experience, your own challenge. And so each and every person that does it, it's your own challenge. And every year, it's your own challenge. And that's what makes it so awesome. So I encourage you, if you haven't tried it before, definitely get out there. If you finish, great. If you don't, you're gonna break something open inside of you, and you're gonna grow in some way, some aspect.
I feel like I have a little bit different perspective on it because I lived through something that I never would have chosen, and I never imagined I could live through. And I remember saying, we lived close to an Air Force base for a few years, and a lot of my friends' husbands were deployed, and I always said I could never do that. I just couldn't do it. Like, that's not a life I could live. And, you know, here I am living that life for 4 years now, and it was not a choice. So for me, the challenge was accomplishing something I never thought I could do, but it was my choice. I chose to do it. I chose to overcome, and I really learned a lot about my own strength, and now it makes you feel unstoppable, you know? Like, you live through something hard in life, you realize you can do it, and you finish the challenge, and you realize you can, you know, do so much more than you ever thought you could.
I'll just say one thing I've learned from the challenge, and then we'll let you go. It's not exactly about how to do hard things necessarily, but every year when June comes around, I get like this anxiety. Like, I'm really worried that I'm gonna let everyone down. I want this to be amazing for everyone, and I don't want to become a terrible employee in the meantime and a terrible dad in the meantime, that I always fear that I am. And like in 2019 or the first couple of years, I felt like a lot of pressure to respond to everyone really fast and help everyone as much as I could. And you know, like, people they have all these Strava accounts for no reason, and then they connect them wrong, and they have to delete their account. It's like, why do you have so many Strava accounts? And like, they're using GPS for the first time. Anyway, we love it. Thank you for participating. But then I just realized, like I said at the beginning, like, all these people are so good. Everyone wants to help. Like, if I put out a call for help on any aspect of it, all these people are beating down the door to be a part of it, to help, because they care. And so I would say what I've learned about hard things is just like, stop putting all the pressure on yourself, because you don't have to. And there's someone out there who's way better than you at every aspect of everything. And I found that to be the case. So thank you all for what you bring to it, which is what makes it great. So.